Hello folks, while I work on the next video and wait for the outcome of the Knives Out counter notification, I decided to start ramping up the, so far neglected, gaming side of this channel. And what better game to start with than the one I've put the most time into since I got it in 2019, Ark Survival Evolved. Ahead of the eventual release of the remake Ark Survival Ascended on PlayStation, yes, I'm a console scrub primarily, I wanted to take a few moments to explain what Ark is and what's been happening with the journey towards Ark Survival Ascended. But, in order to do that, I need to take you back to the beginning, to 2014. Now, this won't be an in-depth examination of all the ins and outs, what happened, if you will, but rather a brief overview highlighting how it all started and where it is now. Ark Survival Evolved is an action-adventure survival game developed by Studio Wildcard and published by Snail Games. Oh yeah, and it also has dinosaurs. A shit ton of dinosaurs. And now even more things. But for me, the appeal was the dinosaurs. I first became aware of it when I saw gameplay footage on YouTube. Unfortunately, I couldn't play it. It was an early access game on Steam, and I was primarily a console scrub using an incredibly old laptop to play Lord of the Rings mods on Total War games that are older than some of my colleagues. The game started development in 2014 when Studio Wildcard was founded by former Trendy Entertainment employees led by Jeremy Stieglitz, who had left Trendy Entertainment after being accused of creating a hostile work environment, and was under a direct non-compete agreement for 3 years. There were various legalities, but eventually the companies settled out of court. Honestly, that could be a whole video in and of itself. Studio Wildcard was acquired by the Chinese-based publisher Snail Games, and Ark Survival Evolved stomped its way onto Steam Early Access in June of 2016, because Dinomania was at a high. The game didn't have much of a story at that time, being more about survivors waking up and navigating their way through a mysterious island filled with dinosaurs that you could tame and ride into battle, crafting items and buildings, and punching trees and chasing down harmless dodos. A big appeal of the game was the multiplayer, being able to play with your friends in tribes or with randoms on official and unofficial servers, in PvP environments or PvE, basically where you can't fight each other, just the other dinosaurs. As time went on, expansions were released, a story started to take shape, and the game came out of early access and was released fully on PC and consoles in 2017. Unfortunately, I always held off buying the game as it was expensive as fuck and I was poor as fuck. Fast forward to 2019, and I see the game on sale in the PS Store for £30 including all of the expansions released up to that date, which at that point was the Extinction expansion. Of course, the inevitable happened.
Shut up and take my money!
I knew the game was hard, but I didn't appreciate just how hard. I got a feel for it in single player and decided to try my luck online. Being a solo tribe and having no real PvP experience, I never lasted very long, building up a small base and starting to make my way through the game, only to come back online and find my entire base had been wiped by some asshole riding a Giga or a Wyvern. So I tried the official PvE servers, and found them full of pillar spam and unable to actually build anything. So I looked on unofficial servers and found a good one during the lockdown of 2020 called Arkham UK, and I've been there ever since. I've actually been able to progress through the game. The game is actually pretty fun. You wake up on an island and craft your way up, taming various dinosaurs and creatures while you try to find out why the fuck you woke up there. There is an actual story for Ark now, mostly told through explorer notes that you find throughout the maps, and it's pretty cool. This isn't going to be an Ark lore video though. If you want those, I'd recommend checking out Neddy the Noodle's YouTube as his videos are pretty good and look like actual films. Anyway, I'm making my way through the game and having a blast, and then come the 2020 Game Awards, where a trailer for Ark 2 was released, and holy shit, it had Vin Diesel. I had no idea what was going on, having not finished the original game or played the new Genesis expansions that had come out, but it looked cool as fuck, and it was coming in 2022. Yaldi. And there was even a concept trailer released for Ark the Animated Series, and holy shit, look at that cast. It was a good time to be an Ark fan. As time went on, I got further into the game, finishing the island and ascending. However, we didn't hear much about Ark 2 or the animated series. Eventually, it was announced that Ark 2 would be delayed until 2023 due to the game being in development on the new Unreal Engine 5. I didn't mind, I still had the original game to finish. Since I got it, I've put in over 2,000 hours onto the game on PS4 and now PS5. I also have it on my now better PC, but my console was always better and looked nicer, and the PvE community that I'm a part of is PlayStation based. And now we come to 2023. Aside from another CG Vin Diesel trailer, we hadn't heard much about Ark 2. No other trailers featuring gameplay or screenshots. We got another trailer for the animated series, which looks pretty cool but still has no platform or release date. Ark's developer, Studio Wildcard, released community crunches weekly, basically a newsletter about the game keeping fans up to date on updates, events and other info. Occasionally, they would even drop concept art for Ark 2, but nothing else about the game. Early in 2023, the community was told there would be a free upgrade for the original game that would convert everything into the Unreal 5 engine, which set some alarm bells ringing in my head. Lots of games from the previous gaming generation got remasters into the new tech, but this wasn't an upgrade from PS4 into PS5 or Xbox One into Series S or X. This was a full new game engine conversion. While I admit I know next to nothing about proper game development, I didn't think it would be as simple as throwing the old game into the new engine, releasing it, and calling it a day. That little voice in my head was right. It was said that there would be word about an Ark roadmap leading up to the launch of Ark 2 on the Community Crunch coming on March 31st, 2023, and many of us waited with anticipation. At that point, I was fully expecting another delay, as were others within the Ark community, which had grown over the last 8 years, with tons of YouTube channels which were hyping up the release of Ark 2 and hoping to see a trailer. Then, March 31st, 2023 arrived, and the infamous Community Crunch was released. Ark 2 was, as expected, delayed. Developing a game in a new engine is hard, and despite working on it for about 2 years, there really wasn't anything worthy enough to show. Also announced in the crunch was the announcement that the previously free Unreal Engine 5 upgrade would now not be free. Not an upgrade, but rather a whole new game, remaking the original, which would be released as Ark Survival Ascended. It would be a definitive version of the game, with shinier graphics, quality of life improvements, and it would even be crossplay between PC and consoles and drop on all platforms at the same time. Lol. Oh, and it would also cost $50, and you'd have to buy all the DLCs again in separate $20 season passes. But you'd get a free copy of Ark 2 when it did come out. And they would be killing the official servers that people had been playing on before it launched in August. The response from the community was, well... It didn't help that this crunch came out on April Fool's Day for the rest of the world, leading many, including myself, to speculate that it was all just a bad joke. It wasn't. The backlash was huge. Many called it a cash grab, and some even turned to investigative reporting, turning spotlights onto Wildcard's publisher Snail Games and an apparent mismanagement of funds. Ark has been an incredibly lucrative game for the company, bringing in over $1 billion over the course of its lifetime. Was it just simple corporate greed that was driving the new price hike for the newly announced ASA? Or were Snail and Wildcard simply just out of money and they had to release this new upgrade as a new full-price game? The answer is yes, to both. Aside from releasing Ark Survival Evolved, Snail Games' portfolio has been less than stellar, with games like Atlas, a sort of asset flip for Ark, being released initially to positive reception and then eventually abandoned and left to die. Ark is their only successful product, but that hasn't stopped them trying with other IPs. Unfortunately, these IPs have been shite, cynical cash grabs, with Project Hermes, a sci-fi adventure game being developed on the blockchain, taking advantage of the scourge that is cryptocurrency, and possibly being funded with some of the profits from Ark Survival Evolved. Okay, so they're a shitty, greedy publisher. EA are c***s as well, but people still keep coming back for the next Star Wars or FC game year on year. Unfortunately, this is the world we live in a capitalist society. Corporations can never be satisfied with just making profits and a lot of money. As Steph Sterling has repeatedly said, they need to make all of the money. But it gets worse. Aside from just being greedy shitheads, Snail Games are also extremely corrupt, allowing several of their employees who play Ark access to admin commands on the official Conquest servers that they play on. This was highlighted when several long-time Ark Conquest players banded together to raid the T-Tribe on official servers. Every time they were on the verge of victory, the servers would mysteriously shut down and roll back to a point in the game state where T-Tribe had the advantage. This eventually culminated in the players attacking T-Tribe being banned and accused of cheating. Despite regular lobbying within the community, numerous videos, and pretty damn irrefutable evidence, this has never been publicly acknowledged by Wildcard or any statement or reinstatement of the players' accounts made to my knowledge. And it gets worse. Not content with just running an incredibly shady games publisher, the CEO of Snail Games has also been linked to the now defunct electric car company NDV. With millions of development costs sunk in, people wondered if this money might also have been profits from Ark Survival Evolved, that otherwise could have been spent on Ark 2 or Ark Survival Ascended development. The backlash was so severe it caused Wildcard and Snail Games to walk back the initial prices of ASA, saying instead that it would now cost $60 with all DLCs re-released free of charge going forward, but Ark 2 wouldn't now be bundled in. So life went on. Studio Wildcard were most likely crunched to within an inch of their lives, and August crept ever closer, with no hint of a trailer or screenshot. Instead, we got high-res asset renders of items from the original game and how they would appear in the remake. And eventually we heard a very familiar phrase: delayed. Obviously, August was too soon to release a full game that we hadn't seen anything substantial from, and a new release date of October was announced. Also around that time, it was revealed that Snail Games were so skint they had to get a loan from one of the server hosting sites that ran servers for Ark, Nitrado. The loan was for $4 million to help complete development of Ark Survival Ascended, and would give Nitrado exclusive hosting rights to all servers for ASA. Not just the official servers, but all of them. Previously, there had been multiple options available for players wanting to host their own unofficial servers to play with their friends, or indeed host their own gaming communities. This deal effectively gave Nitrado a monopoly on running all servers for Ark Survival Ascended. So capitalism does as capitalism does. None of this is illegal. It is really shitty, but that's still the world we live in. Oh, and the loan also stipulated that ASA had to release before November 2023, or Nitrado would be entitled to 20% of all proceeds from the original game, on top of the 20% they would already receive going forward from Ark Ascended profits until the loan was repaid. So now we had an unmovable release date, because if the game didn't release by then, they would be fucked. October crept ever closer. Wildcard released very little information about the upcoming remake of Ark, and Ark-based YouTube channels released rampant speculation videos on when the trailer would drop and hyped up the community as it was good for their business. Some were still rightfully skeptical of everything coming out of the studio or developers. The official Ark Discord was a good source of information too, as some of the developers, community managers and project managers interacted with the fanbase on there, and as we hit October, we began to hear rumblings. There was a trailer and it looked awesome. The game was on track for a late October release on all platforms, and then we finally got a screenshot.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
It was a Raptor, captured in photo mode. It looked good, there's no denying that. The game had also been sent into certification to Microsoft and Sony, but there was still no trailer. And then the crunch that everyone was waiting for and expecting the trailer to be revealed on was concept art for a dino that wouldn't be coming to the game until the Extinction map got re-released on Ascended. But then, project manager at Wildcard, Dolly, promised fans the next week would be a week of fire, with an announcement coming at the upcoming Xbox Partner Showcase imminent that promised a look at the gameplay of ASA. So the week of fire began. The first couple of days were quiet until the Partner Showcase. The Ark community showed up in force and were nothing if not vocal. And then the moment finally arrived. The trailer for Ark Survival Ascended. And it ended with... This was, in fact, coming soon for consoles and launching on Steam Early Access later that day. The community once again went wild. Some elated, some not so elated. Apparently, a critical multiplayer issue had emerged overnight that meant that they couldn't release the game on consoles as planned, but by releasing via Steam Early Access, they could still meet the contract requirement in the loan that they released the game by the end of November. Releasing is a word that does a lot of heavy lifting. The game didn't become available for several hours, and when it did release, it was a buggy, broken mess. Official servers didn't work, and Wildcard had to go into overdrive patching the shit out of it, and as of the time of recording this video, it's still not apparently great. Single player is still an option, I guess. But wait, it still gets worse. Remember that monopoly on servers that Nitrado had? Well, it turns out that it's not just Snail Games who are greedy shitheads. Among all of the server providers for the original game, Nitrado is not rated among the highest, with many complaining of poor service from both the servers and their customer service base. Well, after the game went live, they announced their server pricing for Ark Survival Ascended, which, to put it bluntly, was rather c***ish. Previously, players could host their own dedicated servers for maps on their own devices, and now there was a digital rights management implementation, which meant they could host one server only through Steam, if they had a copy of the game, which would then prove an issue when the other maps were released. Meaning, if they wanted more servers, they would have to pay for a 70-person slot server for about $40 a month. If they wanted a better deal and ran a community, they had to have 10,000 members or be one of Nitrado's partners. This caused another backlash within the community, including some choice words from prominent members of the community like Neddy the Noodle.
Nitrado, maybe get your cock out of your mouth and stand up to face the community.
They've since walked it back and announced slightly more affordable servers. As of the latest community crunch, the game will now be released on Xbox Series S and X on November 14th, and PlayStation players, well, we'll have to wait until the end of November. No official date set.
Well then could we at least pull up here and get some dinner? 'Cause I like to be wined and dined after I've been fucked!
So that's an abridged history of Ark Survival Evolved and Ark Survival Ascended. Would I advise anyone to play the original game? No. The game feels like it was never completed. It still crashes and has bugs all the time, causing players to lose their items and progress. Would I advise anyone to play Ark Survival Ascended when it releases on their platforms? Also no. The game stinks of a cynical cash grab and has been so mismanaged it's not even funny anymore. The entire release has been what I would call peak Wildcard. And yet, I've put over 2,000 hours into the original game. Why? Because it's fucking fun! It's so fucking fun! It's so fucking broken, but I can't stop. I'm at least self-aware enough to know that and not recommend it, but goddamn, if you do play this game and you're on PlayStation, come hit me up on Arkham UK and we'll have a blast. I'm actually one of the admins there now. I am heavy into this game. Will I be getting Ark Survival Ascended when it eventually comes to PlayStation? It looks so fucking good! It's a definitive version of the original game, and after having checked out gameplay, I, like so many other poor bastards, am gonna end up handing over my money. I have a problem and I can't stop. Yes, there will be an Arkham UK for ASA, and yes, I will be there. I can't stop. It's the same reason football fans get excited every 4 years despite the fact that FIFA is a corrupt shithole entity. It's the same reason EA, Activision and Ubisoft keep getting away with the same shit year after year. Capitalism is broken, but that's not the consumer's fault. We're just trying to get by and have some fun. If things really are to change, they need to change from the top down. It's not the consumer's responsibility. Society needs an overhaul, or a revolution. And also, to touch grass for a minute, there are more pressing concerns in the world right now than some dinosaur game, even if it is like a billion-dollar IP. So let's just relax and try to have some fun, hold shitty practices to account, and expect an Ark Survival Ascended playthrough on this channel via Arkham UK. If you liked this video, consider gently tapping the like button and subscribing to the channel. You can find me on Instagram and the social media website formerly known as Twitter on these links. If you're interested in Ark, feel free to check out the content creators I've listed in this video, and if you want to learn more about Arkham UK, I also run the YouTube channel for the cluster in addition to my own. It's a fuck ton of work. I'll see you on the next video, and if you're an Arkham UK player, I'll see you naked, afraid, and punching trees to get wood. Godspeed, survivors.